So hello guys and welcome to my channel. Today I am going to talk about the new chapter of One Piece, chapter 1164, and as we know the previous chapter was really awesome because in the previous chapter we see Garp, Roger, Whitebeard, Big Mom and Kaido everyone attacking Emu together in a crazy double spread. And I would say this chapter is a very good chapter as well, as we are in the finale of the God Valley flashback, you would say. And this is a very balanced chapter as it shows many panels of good story and some reveals as well, and as well as some good fights. But before chapter starting, let's me talk about the cover page of the chapter. So the chapter's cover page is just a cover page request, and here we are seeing Perona chasing a rabbit with a pocket watch. But let's talk about the chapter now, and the name of this chapter is Davy's Blood. So the chapter starts where we left off in the previous chapter. Here we are seeing that Rox is stabbed by Emu and Emu has used Domi Reversi on Rox. And in the next one we see that everyone is confused that all of the attacks they didn't even face this guy. And we see Emu talking with Rox, and Rox says that he should not, you can say, underestimate the humans. And then he asks Emu that Davy Jones, that was the name of the previous king of the world. While you would think that maybe Davy Jones was the previous ruler of the world and now it is Emu. Emu says that he was never the king, so Davy Jones was never the king of the world. And he says that Rox has no place in the fate that binds Emu and Davy Jones. So there is something that binds Emu and Davy Jones, and Rox has not been in there. So Rox does not know about it, and Rox kind of taunts Emu, saying that then Emu should not be scared of Davy Jones just for his name. And then Rox says that Emu has been afraid for a long time, because he says that if someone actually comes and inherits Davy Jones' will, it would be very problematic for Emu. And then we get the biggest thing of this chapter, which is that Rox asks Emu if he is more scared of Davy Jones or Joy Boy. And then Emu just says that he's not going to hear Rox's stupid talks anymore. And then Emu says that he has now found a perfect soldier. And then he says something about the nation of gentle and indecisive giants. And then Rox says that leave the giants alone, and Harold just wants peace. And then we see that Emu fully converts Rox into a demon, and then he says him to go and put an end to the Davy dream. So here Emu is telling Rox to go and kill everyone of the Davy clan, so it includes its child and his wife as well. And here we see that Rox has turned fully into a demon. So after what we heard of Rox talking to Emu and asking him if he is more afraid of Davy Jones or Joy Boy, and Emu crashing out over it, I think that most probably this means that Joy Boy and Davy Jones are two different person, and my theory is over. But I would say there is still a possibility, but it is very low. I even think that Davy Jones and Joy Boy might be two different people. But what we have heard from here, I can definitely say it is very possible that the three of them had some kind of relationship. I mean, we have already heard from Rox that Davy Jones was actually a legendary pirate, and we already know that Joy Boy was a similar thing as well. So I think that there is a possibility that they had a relationship, and either Emu betrayed them, or maybe all of them were rivals kind of things. Here the mention of someone being reborn or carrying out the will of Davy Jones, and indicating that it is most probably Blackbeard. And I'm just going to say this for now, because I'm going to make a video for this as well after this chapter. But let's continue the chapter now. After that we see that Emu leaves Rox and Rox falls down, and here we see that everyone, Big Mom and Kaido, is concerned of Rox and what Emu did to him. And then we see Emu asking Rox to kill everyone on God Valley, and then we see that Big Mom is standing in front of Rox and saying that maybe he has gotten bigger. And here we see Emu tells him to kill everyone of the Davy clan, and then Rox tells Big Mom to get out of his way. And then we see that Kaido comes and he's asking Rox what happened to him, and then Rox jumps on Kaido and finishes Kaido in just one hit. After that, Big Mom also tries to attack Rox and ask him what is happening to him, and then we see Big Mom is also cleared in one hit as well. And then we see that Whitebeard and Rox are about to clash, and then we see that Whitebeard asks that we are in your way, and then he asks what is happening to Rox, and then we see that Rocks and Whitebeard clash here, and here Whitebeard leaves his Naginata and uses his powers to block Rock's strike. And then we see that one of the mountains of that, we see that two mountains were there on God Valley. We see that one of the mountain has broken and the mountain is falling on God Valley. And this was because of Rocks and Whitebeard clashing and Whitebeard using his powers. And then we see that everyone is trying to run away from here. All the ships are trying to go away from this island. And then we see the celestial dragons who are actually terrified of what's happening, and everyone is trying to escape from here with the marines. Then we see Rayleigh, who is carrying Shaki and telling his crew to get away from here. And after that we see Monkey D. Dragon, and here we can see that he is obviously, I said in the previous video that Dragon does not know what happens to Shanks here, and he's very sad and devastated here, and he's regretting that even after everything he did on this island, he was not able to save a one tiny baby, because obviously Dragon doesn't know if Shanks is going to be safe. And one more thing is that the reaction that we see of Dragon here, it is very similar to the reaction that we see Luffy giving in Sabaody after all his friends were vanished by Kuma. And another interesting thing is that currently when we are seeing Dragon is also 17 years old, and Luffy at the time on Sabaody, he was also 17 years old. So both father and son actually experience a very similar kind of thing at the age of 17. And I would say this is actually Oda's way of connecting Luffy and Dragon, because we have seen that Dragon is a kind of outcast from the monkey family, but here we can see that they are very similar in a way. And in the next panel we are seeing Kuma, Ginny and Ivankov, and here we see that Kuma is being stopped by Ginny and Ivankov from using his power even more to save more people. But here we see that Kuma obviously wants to help more people if they are here. And then we see that Kuma actually saw someone, but we are not shown who that is. After that we are cut to a panel of seeing Captain John, who is very hurt because of Ganzoi's attack, and then we see Ganzoi's, who is also defeated because he tried to attack Shiki in the previous chapter, but Shiki obviously defeated him. And then we see Siki, who is actually carrying a chest and running away from this island, but Ganzoi says that he will never be able to escape this island alive. But after that we see a very crazy panel where we see that Rox, who has turned into a demon after Dome Reversi, has now caught up to his wife Eris and his child Teach. And here we see that Eris asks Rox that if he lost. Here we see that Eris is actually blaming herself for this. All this is happening, and she says that it was all her fault and their fault that he had to fight them. To save them. And after that we see that Eris hugs her child Teach to let her get away from here, and runs away as fast as she could. After that she says that she has no choice now to just jump and then try to swim from here, and she won't let the Davy clan die here. And then she says that she is going to survive here no matter what. After that we see that some marine ships actually spots them, and they says that escapees are escaping the island, and they actually attack them all with cannons. And at the back of them we see that Rox is going to attack them as well. But at this moment we see that Kuma was able to get up to Rox and Eris, and then we see that Kuma uses his powers, and then Eris and Teach or Blackbeard actually disappear from here. So Imu has his powers failed, and Rox is now attacking Kuma as well. But then we see that Kuma actually uses his powers on himself and teleports from here. And then we see Imu, who most probably has realized that his plan has failed, or maybe he hasn't, and then he's saying that to extinguish all who remain on this island, and he's giving these orders to Rox, and now Imu wants Rox to destroy this island. After that we are seeing Garp talking to someone from the navy, and he tells them to not stick around here and get away from here. After that we see the Roger pirates as well, who ask where Roger is, and Roger tells them to tell him when everyone is aboard the ship. After that we see Rox is attacking everyone, and everyone is confused why does Rox look like that and why he is attacking them. But in the next panel we see that Garp and Roger both shout together and say that bring it on Rox, and then we see that Rox actually comes to Garp and Roger. And here we see Imu's reaction saying Davy, but I do not understand what Imu thinks here. After that we see that Rox is standing in front of Garp and Roger, and Roger is asking that he is not going to let Rox go after his crew, and Garp asks here that what happened to Rox. But in the next panel something strange is happening, or at least I think that it is strange what is happening, because here we see that Rox is actually talking. Most probably he's just talking inside himself, and in this form Rox is not able to say anything. But we see that what Rox says Roger is most probably able to hear, and then he covers his ears. Obviously when I first read this I thought that it is most probably the voice of all things, and I still think that, but here we also see Garp's reaction. So I don't know if Garp is able to hear this, or even Garp may have a voice of all things like Luffy. If Garp is not able to hear this, I do not know what the mean of Garp's reaction here is. Then we see that they question what is with that expression, and then we see that Rox is actually crying, and then most probably Rox is just thinking that, and Roger is able to hear it. But I'm still not sure if Garp is able to hear it not. And here we see that Roger and Garp see Rox crying, and then Rox is asking them to please kill him. And then we see that Rox starts attacking. You could say that Rox is going to attack Roger and Garp now, and they are obviously there to counter him. And this is the panel where the chapter ends here. But if you here ask me about what happened with Roger, Rox and Garp in the final scene, and obviously I told you in the chapter that I felt strange about it, and here when I think about it more, I think that there is a high possibility that, contrary to what I was saying about Garp and Roger only having voice of all things, I think that there is a high possibility that here Rox D. Xebec actually has the voice of all things as well, and it would make sense why he is able to communicate with Roger by using it, because we have seen the same with Luffy, Zunisha and Momonosuke, and they were able to communicate using the voice of all things. But even if that is the case, I do not understand what is happening with Garp here, because we have not been told if Garp has the voice of all things or not. Like, we have not been told anything like that about Garp. Maybe we will be told in the future. But if you talk about the chapter, I would say this was a very good chapter of the reveals and some new speculations and things for the new ruler of the world maybe. And most surely in the next chapter we will see the end of the God Valley flashback, and we will be seeing the death of Rox D. Xebec, or you can call him by his real name by now, which is Davy D. Xebec. But I am still not seeing Garling or any of the Holy Knights in this chapter. We even saw some of the Celestial Dragons, but we did not see any of the Holy Knights. So I do not know when did Garling give those scars to Whitebeard. And I think that it is possible that it might not have been on the God Valley incident. From what I am seeing right now, I think that there is a high possibility that Garling actually escapes, and maybe while he is trying to escape, maybe he faces Whitebeard, and then because Whitebeard is so much injured right now, like we saw that right now he fought Rox, but after that we did not see what happened to Whitebeard, and from all this fighting he might be a little bit injured. So maybe that is the point of time where we see Garling actually able to give those scars to Whitebeard. And I think that there is a high possibility that we might see the Holy Knights in the next chapter. And I know I have been saying this, and I do want to see some of the Holy Knights do anything at least. But yes, while I say that next chapter will definitely be, or most surely be, the end of the God Valley flashback, it is not going to be end of this flashback. We still have to see how King Herald was killed, and after we finish this flashback, most probably we are going back to see that Imu has been killing all the giants and all the straw hats even maybe, while Loki is actually telling the story to all of those people. But that's it for this video. And if you like this video, please tell me in the comment sections what you thought about it, and drop down a like, subscribe to my channel, and keep theorizing.